Hi everyone, this is Luckgod and this is game 2 of the tournament that I ran recently. Deciding to run Jank as I was organising it, I couldn't win any of the prizes. So here is game 2. It is Caine1 running long gunners versus Darius in heavy metal. So the lists roughly, Darius is running a Squire, a Stormwall, 2 Centurions, an Ironclad, and a Charger. And then there's Arlen Strangeways, and then a Journeyman Warcaster running a second Charger. And for my list, it's also in the heavy metal theme, but it's Caine1 with a Squire, a Hurricane, and Ace. Junior is running a Cyclone, and then it's 2 units of max long gunners. One of them has the command attachment, and Linus and Adria. So I got first turn in this game, and I decided to run everything up as far as it could, but staying outside of threat. So both of my units of long gunners have run up. Caine has put Blur up onto himself and Snipe up onto the long gunners on the right. The Junior has put Arcane Shield on the Hurricane. So everything is rushed up really aggressive. So most of his warjacks run up. None of them were in range to shoot at me because I deliberately stayed out of threat range. Both of the Centurions have popped Polarity Field, so I can't charge them, although the Stormwall's right next to them, so you know that would mitigate that a bit, but regardless I'm not within range to charge anyway. Arcane Shield has gone up onto the Stormwall. So, long gunners turn 2. I have Linus put Applied Knowledge onto the command attachment of the long gunners on the right. They then activate. Snipe was upkept on them, so they activate and put 2 CRAs into the Charger on the right. They managed to take out its Cortex and its gun arm. The Hurricane had been allocated some focus. It then walks up to tow the central circle zone. It shoots into its storm emitter guns, the PAL 16 knockdown or slam for medium base, into the Centurion on the right, knocks it down, does some damage to it. The AoEs of its guns, secondary guns that it fires, don't manage to kill the half-jack hiding behind. Ace walks up. He's hidden behind the Hurricane's left fist here, you can't really see him, but he chooses Trick Shot, hits into the Centurion, boosts damage, doesn't really do much. The Trick Shot does not break armor on the half-jack. The Caine then goes, he tows the zone and is still on the hill, which is pretty good for me. He casts Snipe onto the left-hand unit of long gunners through Hurricane's Arc Node. They then aim and put 2 CRAs out. One of them gets a double one and misses. The second one hits the Charger on the left and does decent damage to it, but doesn't. I don't think it took out any systems. The Junior goes to the flag, and the Cyclone walks up and makes a shot or 2 into the Charger as well, but doesn't really do much. So Darius is turn 2. The Charger on the right tries to aim and do a couple of single dice attacks into long gunners, fails to do anything. Both of his Centurions move up and Polarity Field, so I can't charge them. His Stormwall does its 2 big gunshots into my Cyclone and does some damage to it. It pops out some covering fires as well. His caster Darius walks up and shoots into my long gunners and kills 3 or 4 of them. I think he kills 3 of them, and then the Charger kills another one. So all told, he kills 4 of the long gunners on the left hand side, and both of his Centurions are polarity shielded, and his ironcladders run up as well. So at the end of the last turn, I scored 2 control points, one for my flag and one for the rectangular zone, and he scored 1 point on his rectangular zone. So start of my turn, Caine upkeeps Blur on himself, he lets Snipe drop, the Junior upkeeps Arcane Shield on the Hurricane. She allocates a couple of points, a point of focus to her Cyclone. So the long gunners on the left hand side aim and put a shot into the Charger again. They do some more damage to it, and the Cyclone then walks up and does the last bit of damage to kill the Charger on the left, and then puts some damage into the Ironclad. The Centurion's nearer, but with only POW 12s he's unlikely to hurt it compared to possibly hurting the Ironclad, so he puts some damage on the Ironclad. My Hurricane turns and shoots at the Centurion on the left, knocks it down, does some damage to it. I then have the long gunners have been given applied knowledge, which allows me to pick the columns from Linus and Adria again. I then have them go, I have them put 1 CRA into the Charger on the right, which kills it, and then I have them put a second CRA into the Centurion on the right, and they pick column 1 to try and take out its shield, and they manage it, and do a fairly good chunk of damage to it. Ace and Caine himself then put a bunch of shots into it and finish it off, so that's now dead as well. Ace also popped Infiltrate this turn, so I've got Caine sat on a hill, camping 1 with Blur and Stealth, so he should be fairly safe. So at the end of this turn I score 2 again, 1 for the flag, 1 for the rectangle zone, and he scores 1 for his rectangle zone, so the score is now 4-2. So Darius turn 3, he allocates a bunch of focus to his Warjacks. He has Junior run to the flag on the right. He then has his Stormwall charge into my long gunners, so it's contesting the central circle zone and my rectangular zone. Kills a few of the long gunners. He then has he popped his feet this turn to repair all the damage to the Centurion and the Ironclad. He has his Centurion craned by Darius and then charges my Hurricane. Because it couldn't get within range to do its shield, it doesn't get to make all of its attacks, but it does some decent damage to the Hurricane. Arcane Shield is helping me out though. His Ironclad charges my Cyclone, but it misses its charge attack and doesn't do enough to kill. In fact, I don't even think he takes any systems out on that Cyclone. It's still fully operational. But unfortunately this means he is no longer scoring his left-hand zone. I am still scoring the flag because he's not contesting that, so at the end of this turn the score goes to 5-2. Sorry, no, 5-3 because he is scoring his flag now. So long gunners turn 4. I've got a lot of Warjacks in my face at this point, so I have Junior upkeep Arcane Shield still, Caine upkeeps Blur on himself still, and then we go with the Cyclone first, which shuffles into the central zone, and it does a power attack throw on the Centurion and tries to throw it at Darius, who is out of range for the throw, but he's still a valid target. So the Centurion scatters D3 from that and scatters, and unfortunately for me scatters into his own zone. So I basically have to contest now, otherwise I'll be giving him a control point. So I have the long gunners, instead of aiming and getting 2 shots, they walk up. I forgot to mention last turn that Darius killed a couple more of them with his AoE gun. So there's only 3 of them left at this point. One of them manages to get into the zone. I didn't want to run them, I still wanted to try and get shots. They shoot at Island Strangeways and don't really do anything. The squire, being empty at this point, has run off to the hedge on the left-hand side of the board, ready to try and take that flag should Junior die. Now that the Hurricane doesn't have to take a free strike from a Centurion, it walks over and starts beating on the storm wall with its Cortex Disruptor and damaging fists. It manages to take out one side and a bit of the Hurricane, but leaves it alive. The long gunners that aren't engaged with the storm wall do a CRA into it and do a bit more damage. Ace shoots into it as oh no, sorry, Ace shoots and boosts to hit and damage and kills the Journeyman Warcaster. I picked Thunderbolt as this shot type because I figured if the Junior survived, say it spent focus to reduce the damage and didn't die, the Thunderbolt shot would at least push it off the flag so he wouldn't score. My list doesn't really have much that can contest very well. Caine walks over to the right hand side of the hill, puts a couple of shots of boosted damage into the storm wall as well, and we end the turn there. I score 1 for my flag, and he does not score his zone because I contested it, so the score goes to 6-3 here. So Darius' turn 4. He loads up his jacks once more. He has his Stormwall turn and punch in at my Hurricane. Even the crippled fist actually does a fair whack of damage to it. The E-leaps from the fist attacks are initially going into my Linus, and against all probabilities he survives the first 2 E-leaps and then dies to the third. The subsequent E-leaps going into Ace, but nothing was crippled on him. The Stormwall doesn't manage to take out my Hurricane, even though it was already pretty damaged. So he sends in the Centurion on the left to kill my Cyclone. And then, now that his Ironclad's freed up because my Cyclone's dead, his Ironclad charges into my Hurricane and finishes it off. So I'm down my Colossal, and I've got an Ironclad in my face, a Centurion not long behind it, and a nearly dead Stormwall. So it's looking pretty grim. Luckily though, I did manage to still score on the left-hand flag because that's not being contested, but Darius has moved into the rectangle zone and is scoring that because he did manage to kill the long gunner that was contesting. So this turn the score goes up to 7 to me, 4 to him. So long gunners turn 5. I allocate a point of focus to Ace. I upkeep Blur as I have for the entire game. Caine moves over to the right and boosts damage on both of his initial shots and boosts damage on a feat shot to kill off the Stormwall. Then he has Ace move back a bit, shoots and boosts to hit into the Ironclad, choosing Thunderbolt. He pushes it back a decent distance and knocks it down as well. The long gunners then do a CRA into that to do a bit more damage. I have my Junior walk up and put a boosted shot into Island Strangeways and kill him. My long gunners then contest his zone but spread out so the one AoE 4 can't kill them both. I have Squire run to my left hand flag, so I will score 2 more points this turn, and he will not score at all, so that puts the score to 9-4, and I win the game here. So it was quite the grindy game. My friend that I was playing here, he hasn't played Darius at all before this, so there was a couple of pointers that I gave him at the end of the game, such as his halfjacks should have been running to contest my flag every turn and creating one to run to put on his flag every turn, rather than sacrificing his junior that turn to score a point. He can just use halfjacks basically for the entire game, and there's not really much I can do about it. So yeah, he's going to do that for next time, so that should be a lot better for his contesting game. I wasn't too impressed with long gunners. Trencher long gunners seem to do everything these guys do, but much better. But you know, the Signar group seemed to suggest 20 odd long gunners quite a few times, so I figured, you know, I'll give it a try. Yeah, I think they're just going to sit in the display case until something happens to make them a bit more viable, because as they stand, they're just not worth it. Alright guys, I've got the third game. I will be trying to get that one out as soon as possible, and catch you later.